Hello, my name's Don Pieta. I've been studying solar energy for a few years now, and I'm here to give a talk about solar energy. So what is solar power? Well, the sun's a huge power source. The sun sends Earth, tiny little Earth, so much energy in 1 to 2 hours than the whole world uses in an entire year. The sun is a million times bigger than the Earth. It's going to last 5 billion years. Do you know that every 2 hours, actually an hour and 8 minutes, thereabouts, the sun sends Earth more energy than all the world's entire population, all 7 billion people use in a year. Every 2 hours. Why don't they just bounce off your Earth, lost in space forever? What solar power is light waves and energy that can hit the solar panels and convert to electricity for use. So how does it work? It simply shines on your roof with your solar panels. The panels convert that to electricity and it powers your air conditioner, your TV, and so forth. Solar power was originally proposed by Thomas Edison over 100 years ago. He said, one day we can make this work and we have an unlimited source of energy. Well, it wasn't until 1970 that NASA started using solar power for their satellites to power them while they're transmitting. Unfortunately, solar power back in 1970 was 200 times more expensive than right now. It's 200 times cheaper now than it was in 1970. So it's widespread and available for people to use. So how does using solar energy help the environment? Well, it's much less polluting than coal energy. And here's a graphic showing the people in China for their coal burning plants, how they have to wear air masks to get around their daily activities. Well, how does sunlight reduce the scarcity of vital resources? Well, there's two nightmare scenarios. There's global scarcity of vital resources and the onset of extreme climate change are already beginning to converge. In the coming decades, they're likely to produce a tidal wave of unrest, rebellion, competition, and conflict. So how can solar power panels help with the environment? Well, there's research right now going on to take carbon out of the air and make jet fuel by using solar panels. Right now, it's not cost effective. It's about $12 a gallon, so it's got to get down to like $2 a gallon or $3 a gallon to be effective for decarbonizing the atmosphere. Also, it can desalinate the ocean. If we can use solar energy to take the salt out of the ocean, we could irrigate the deserts, fresh water for the entire world. Instead of right now, there's starting to be water shortages. The ocean covers 70% of the earth. If we can use all that water with solar energy, everybody can get abundant supply of water. With solar energy, since we're getting a year's worth of supply every couple hours, we could have massive structures that can save the energy. Is getting solar power installation a good investment? Yes, you generally could double your investment back over the 25 years estimated life solar panels if they stay in your home. We've had solar panels last 40 years. There's no moving parts, so it lasts a long time. Plus, it protects your roof. If you have to sell your property, studies have shown that properties equipped with solar panels sell for more than properties without solar. Plus, you made a great contribution for clean air. And then say you got to pay for electricity anyway. There's a cost study. Do you know that if you buy a new car, you drive off the lot, you lost $5,000? Well, if you want to do something for an environment, and you can hold off buying a new car for just 5 years, the new car is depreciated more than half. Sourced from Edmunds, car research thing. You do that one time in your life, you can have solar power for that home and move on. It's great. Is it complicated to get solar energy installation? No, if your roof is 1 in 4 homes in Illinois, maybe I shouldn't say Illinois, Well, this is being filmed in Illinois, can get solar on their home economically. If you have trees on the south side of your home or your roof isn't in the right shape, you'd fall into that 3 and 4 category. The idea with now is that you can get a power purchase agreement. You can get, if you're interested in solar and your home qualifies, you can get all of it installed at no cost, no upfront cost, and only pay for the electricity that is being used. If your bill is more than $60 a month, it's economical. Because solar right now, with all the incentives, is the lowest form cost of energy that you can get. And that being lower cost means you can do this if your bill is at least $60 a month. The best efficiency is to have solar panels installed on your south-facing roof or west-facing roof and on a slight pitch. That's the best efficiency. There is still sunlight coming on the north side of your roof, but it's a 40% hit because the sun hits the sky, the blue sky reflects it back, so there is some solar power. But it's generally not cost effective. You really got to stay on the south or west sides. The do's and don'ts of solar energy, well, I don't think you want to really cut down trees unless they've been hit by lightning or something. And there is community solar farms. If you're only 1 in 4 homes are properly situated, solar energy would be effective. If they're south-facing roof and it's on a pitch and there's no trees or big apartment buildings, that's the way to go because the community solar farms have a problem with some of the energy is lost in transmission. And a distributed network of solar energy is more stable grid, which everybody wants. Now, is it expensive to get solar panels? They used to be, like I just said, they used to be 200 times more expensive. So only NASA could get solar energy because the government could afford that. Right now, it's so inexpensive now. Most solar companies can put solar panels, you can get solar on your roof at no cost initially and only pay for the electricity produced. They'll monitor your panels and guarantee that you get this much energy. The future of solar power. Well, great news. It's constantly getting better. I mean, the panels used to be 2% efficient, now typically 20, 22%. Wouldn't it be nice to have the utility as a backup battery that during the day, all your energy, more than you need, is coming from the sun, and your air conditioner's on, your TV's on. There's still too much power. Remember, it's every hour it's sending a year's worth of power. The excess power goes to your neighbors to power them. It stabilizes the grid. Instead of all this power that's coming over the grid, it's stable. It's a distributed generation is great. And as the world keeps getting more and more efficient, one day, hopefully, the whole world will be powered by solar. Because look, just think of it. It's simple. If you get a year's worth of power in an hour, I mean, it's a no-brainer to have the whole world. No more fighting over oil or water shortages. It would be great. You should save the oil. Instead of burning it and sending the air, you should save it in the ground and take a little bit out of time to lubricate machinery for thousands of generations to come. Just lubricate the machinery. Don't burn it. Use the sun. The sun is a great, it's only getting better. What about the job losses if people convert to solar energy instead of using coal? Well, you can retrain the coal miners. These are experts, they're engineers. You can have them repurpose those coal mines. In fact, some of it's being done already to put solar there. I spent a few years ago, I lived in Cook County most of my life, and we have, Cook County's 100 square miles or so, 110, about 10 square miles of forest reserves. I thought, what a great way for the 3 and 4 homes that cannot get solar energy on their home because of trees or anything. What if we made, I had a goal of, what if, I looked at, we could make Cook County the greenest county in the entire country. Well, how would it be the greenest county in the entire country? Well, I looked at all the trees, how much carbon sequestration comes from the trees, and then if Cook County was entirely covered in trees, it would actually be the greenest county in the country. So I thought, okay, let's do the math then. Solar panels can produce much more energy and carbon sequestration by not producing the carbon. So it came out to 10 square miles of, 1 square mile of solar panels would actually be the equivalent of the entire Cook County being covered with trees. All right, so where are you going to put this? Well, Cook County has over 10 square miles of forest reserves. So along the trails, you could have all these solar panels. You could have the entire Cook County producing solar power. All right, so where would you monitor it? Well, Brookfield Zoo is within Cook County. There's plenty of room. I have documentation showing where you could have a research center to monitor all the thousands of solar panels, and with Brookfield Zoo getting 2 million visitors a year, they can come by and see it all working, and you could advertise the fact that we are the greenest county in the world because all the amount of power we're generating would be as if the Cook County was entirely covered in trees. All right, so what about this cost? Well, what are you going to do with all that excess power? Because during the day, with all that a square mile of power coming there, it's way too much, way too much. Remember, even in our individual house, you're making way too much. So where could we store the power? When I wrote this 2 years, we can send all the power down to the Ohio River by Kentucky. There, you could totally raise the level of the, right before the hydroelectric plants, 12 feet, and during the night, slowly discharge the wind. So you have a steady 24/7 power for 300,000 homes. Well, what would be the cost of that? Well, I spent 4 months on this, and I backed up my checks. I looked up the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers, and I did a minute-by-minute calculation of raising the water thing, and I was within 0.5% of their figures, so my figures are reliable. The bad news, or it sounds bad, is this would cost $6 billion. $6 billion, right, but hydroelectric plants last 50 years. The amount of energy saved, first on progression of electric rates increases over 50 years, is you would bank 23 billion, more than enough to start the whole thing all over. And all along, 300,000 homes are getting clean, green solar power. So that $6 billion includes building the wall up to 12 feet, the high voltage plants, power transmission lines coming from the Ohio River all the way up here. And you say, well, it's 300 miles. Well, Los Angeles gets a big chunk of their power from Washington State, and that's going 800 miles, so it can be done. So the whole grid's crop, if it can be done and you get some buy-in, we have to move. We have to get the world on solar because we'll survive indefinitely. So Chicago, talk to your local politicians or get a grassroots. It can be done. It's humanity, their progress is always trying to improve things, always trying to make it better for the next generation. So if you want to save money, actually then take some of that savings and maybe lower your taxes. If you're going to spend $6 billion and get $23 billion back, you can give everybody a tax break. So what about solar energy and climate change? If anybody looks at the news report for the last several months, maybe a few years, Antarctica, the Arctic Circle is starting to melt. So why is this climate change happening? Well, carbon dioxide, when you're burning fossil fuels, creates like a blanket effect. So that energy coming in hits the Earth, and instead of bouncing off to outer space, gets trapped and redirected back to Earth. Methane, there's other gases, but carbon dioxide lasts a long time. So if we could reduce carbon dioxide emissions, eventually that blanket will start to diminish. Or we could start, like they're doing research, to try to take carbon dioxide out of the air and make jet fuel. Right now it's cost prohibitive, but as solar gets cheaper, wouldn't it be great if we could, all the carbon dioxide we're taking out of the air, turning into jet fuel, then you can fly and then it's all recycled. But solar's got to get big time for that to happen and have massive solar all around the Earth to pull in that carbon dioxide, make the jet fuel, and just get into an equilibrium. Now, what is the problem with the misinformation? There's NASA, 99% of the scientists say that global warming is occurring, and carbon dioxide and man is causing it. But there's people saying, no, that climate change happens on its own. Climate change is ours. Well, what's the source of all that? Well, imagine you're a multi-billionaire and you got a lot of money invested in coal, oil, or a lot of investors, they have all this money invested. What's the solution to that? I mean, hey, I got all these billions, and if you go solar and my oil, you quit burning oil, then what happens to my fortune? Well, there's a solution to it if we all can get together. Instead of $1 trillion tax cut, restore that thing and put it back to where it was. Take that trillion and buy out all the oil companies, all the coal companies, all the interests that have served us well for 100 years and made us a mighty civilization. Reward them, don't penalize, don't let them go bankrupt. And then they won't, if I have 50 billion now and I have 50 billion in cash for selling of my company, that's a win-win, everybody wins. There was no more climate denying or source of it. Don't let companies that served us for 100 years go bankrupt. Buy them out. Leave the oil in the ground, save it for future generations. You know, oil, we need oil for machinery for thousands of years. Go to clean solar energy. So there's a solution. Don't just, the old way is, well, you're obsolete and you go bankrupt. No, these people are very powerful. They have billions of dollars. Buy them out. Here, you company worth, here's the 50 billion. That can be paid for by not cutting taxes. Right now the country's with 21 trillion deficit. Turn that around. We're all on this planet together, you know. So in closing, people of the earth, Chicago, I'm talking for Chicago, we're all in this together. If we're going to have massive climate change and hurricanes and destruction and coastal cities flooded, we can turn this around. The sun is saying, Earth, I'm giving you a whole year's worth of power. Every hour, Earth. Next hour, Earth, here's another year's worth of power. Depend on me, I'm clean. Instead of just bouncing off your roof and lost in outer space, you know, use my power. Make future generation humanity all work together. Don't cut taxes. Buy out all the interests that are competing. The guy who worked all his life, he's a billionaire, give him his billions. Reserve that oil. Reserve that coal. Retrain the coal miners. Retrain the oil engineers. There has to be no job loss. We can all work this together. The whole planet can benefit. We can restabilize the climate. We can put massive solar panels and start taking carbon dioxide out of the air, turning a jet fuel. So you don't have to worry about not flying to your vacation city. Let's work together and pull the carbon out until it gets the right balance. We can all do this. We all work together. We don't have to be competing. You know, there's enough resources and the sun giving all this every hour, it can be a beautiful world. Let's all work together. And then, if you can get solar on your home and you're not blocked by trees or anything, get there. That's the best thing to do. The 1 in 4 homes that are lucky enough, that's the best thing because it stabilizes the grid. The more power, more locations that solar can be producing energy instead of concentrating just a few power lines, the better it is. But if you're one of the 3 and 4 that can't get it, well then think about a solar farm or tell your local political leaders that, you know, maybe we should make this big Brookfield Zoo plant to do 300,000 homes. Yeah, it's $6 billion, but it's going to save money. Look at the numbers. There you can download the whole report and check all my facts. Everything I was sourced out. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me, and let's go solar. I'm Don Pieta. Thank you so much.